to be able to just make a choice on your own and just be able to speak for yourself.
This one's wife, as ever, is a Ponzi scheme. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. What is a Ponzi scheme? Well, it's a form of fraud that lures investors and pays profits to earlier investors with funds from more recent investors. So typically, a smooth-talking, persuasive, and apparently trustworthy individual will convince you to invest a sum of money, for instance, $50,000, telling you that it's going to be invested in a Ugandan diamond mine, a Rwandan emerald mine, and a new housing development in Bulgaria, and that as a consequence of this, you'll be guaranteed to double your money within, let's say, 56 days. Lo and behold, in 56 days, your money is indeed doubled. But you haven't been paid with the profits that have arisen from the relevant diamond or emerald mine, nor is it as a consequence of the sale of the property in Bulgaria. What's happened is you've been paid from money that has been provided by more investors. And naturally, the person operating this scheme creams off a section of the money for themselves. And the scheme works for as long as new investors can be created. But invariably, that means that there comes a point where they slow down, and then people start to wonder where their money is and why they're not getting their return, and then they want to remove their money from the scheme, and problems commence. The Ponzi scheme was named after Italian confidence artist Charles Ponzi, and it misleads investors by either falsely suggesting that profits are derived from legitimate business activities, where the business activities are non-existent, or by exaggerating the extent and profitability of the legitimate business activities, leveraging new investments to fabricate or supplement these profits. As mentioned, a Ponzi scheme can maintain the illusion of a sustainable business as long as investors continue to contribute new funds, and as long as most of the investors do not demand full repayment or lose faith in the non-existent assets that they are purported to own. There have been various Ponzi schemes throughout history. Indeed, Ponzi schemes have been described in novels such as Charles Dickens's Martin Chuzzlewit and Little Dorrit, both featuring such schemes. And it would appear that this one's wife's enterprise has been described as a Ponzi scheme, which is clearly not a flattering description. Geo News, in the enigmatically named Web Desk, explains this one's wife finds herself being ridiculed for her wine launch. This one's wife has got herself a brand new nickname, and this time it's because of her decision to launch a line of wines under the luxury lifestyle brand she owns. Reputation crisis strategist Eric Schiffer is the one who delivered this comment during his interview with a national newspaper. He was talking about the forthcoming offering of this one's wife's new rosé wine, and he explained that if this one's wife's Napa rosé wine vanishes at 11 a.m., retailers will dub her the Duchess of Fake Stock. That means if July's rosé is 404 at checkout, so is her brand's credibility. Now, there will be many people that would suggest that her brand's credibility has already reached that point as a consequence of the fact that it's not particularly interesting, that many of the reviews have not been favourable with regard to the quality of the items, the revelations that she's essentially white labelling, whereby she is having other people manufacture it, which of course many people do, but she hasn't created anything new. So she hasn't sat down and created, for instance, a new type of jam with interesting ingredients and then got somebody to manufacture it for her. She hasn't devised a new wine. She hasn't come up with interesting ingredients for new meals, which then somebody else produces on her behalf. No, none of that has occurred. What she simply does is ensure that somebody else produces these things. She then has them packaged with the as ever packaging and then marks them up. In essence, you end up buying something which you could obtain for far less elsewhere, and it certainly is not worth the amount of money that is being paid for it. But Eric Schiffer is referring to the penchant that she has for selling out before many other fans can even get their hands on the product. Calling it a scam, Mr. Schiffer added too that another 4-hour sellout and shoppers will scream scam and toss the potential of buying a bottle in the dumpster fire. And if the cork pops faster than fans click, her brand looks like the royal Ponzi of pantry products. Well, a nice bit of alliteration. Now, describing it as a Ponzi scheme isn't entirely accurate because it doesn't fit with the financial investment business model of a Ponzi scheme. But in essence, what he's suggesting is that it is a form of scam. That in effect, she's telling people, you can all come and buy my product, except you can't because there isn't very much of it available. And accordingly, it creates the image of exclusivity because it sells out so quickly, but it's always bound to sell out because this one's wife ensures that there's such a limited availability of stock that it's either purchased by people that she knows, or if it is made available to the general public, they can't buy much of it before it declares that it is sold out. And in essence, that is regarded as a scam. That there isn't actually a sustainable brand with proper logistics there, but rather it is, as I've described it, a Potemkin brand. The fact is, however, for another individual to be describing her brand in such unflattering terms as a scam, or describing it, perhaps although inaccurately, as a Ponzi scheme, is not a good look for this one's wife. As she attempts to build credibility, where she struggles because she's fighting against her own innate unpopularity, once again we see the narcissism at work. By creating a limited product drop and creating scarcity, this is done, of course, driven by her narcissism to make her look good and seem important. But what is the collateral consequence once again? It ends up with people not getting refunds, which damages the credibility of this so-called business. It results in disgruntled customers who want to purchase the items but can't, and it means that commentators are sceptical about this supposed selling out, seeing it as a simple marketing gimmick, and others going so far as to label it as a scam. Not a good look for somebody who is trying to launch a business and make it credible. But once again, the short-term needs of the narcissism take precedence over the longer-term health of this business, which is what you've come to know and to expect when it comes to this one's wife. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.